We are delighted to be here and joining our Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton at our War Memorial, honoring Washingtonians who have served their country and their city more than most and have paid the ultimate sacrifice. I am honored to share this podium with our Congresswoman, also with the chairman of our council, Phil Mendelson, with Senator Paul Strauss and Representative Franklin Garcia, and also to have in the audience many members of our DC statehood activists, grassroots organizations who have helped us get to maybe the farthest we've been in advocating for statehood for Washington, D.C. We're here today on the heels of Memorial Day at these grounds where we honor men and women who gave their lives while defending and protecting our nation. As the nation's capital, we are proud to be home to so many of these memorials, but we are particularly proud of this one, our very own DC Memorial, which was dedicated to the 499 Washingtonians who died in service during World War I, but it is also a tribute to all of our men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Over the years, our city has sent nearly 200,000 brave men and women to defend and fight for democracy abroad, and sadly, 2,000 of these patriots never made it home. One of the great injustices we have faced throughout these wars, and that we continue to face, is that even though we send our brothers and sisters and cousins and mothers and fathers off to defend our freedoms, we get denied those very same democratic rights right here at home. In fact, we are denied a vote on whether we should even be going to war in the first place, or whether our tax dollars should be spent on war. Our continued lack of voting representation in Congress is a disgrace to the nearly 30,000 veterans who call our city home, and it is a stain on our nation's democracy. But we know this injustice is neither inevitable nor intractable. We can fix it by making Washington, D.C. the 51st state. So together, we have built unprecedented support for making that reality come true. Just a couple of years ago, we all worked together on a referendum put before DC voters where over 76% of Washingtonians voted to make DC the 51st state, to approve a constitution, to create boundaries for our new state. A record number of co-sponsors in the House and Senate are supporting the Congresswoman's efforts to get the House to vote on statehood for Washington, D.C. We have received endorsements from Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader Schumer, and Chairman Cummings, and long fought for endorsements from Senator Warner from Virginia, and now Congressman Steny Hoyer from Maryland. Endorsements from every single Democrat, and I have to say, Hillary Clinton started them off in 2016, but every single Democrat running for president endorses DC statehood, and now we have a hearing date. I was there for the last hearing in the Senate, and we could not have been more well represented. I remember very clearly, Senator, your great remarks to that Senate hearing room and to the senators present. And I know on July 21st, 24th, 2019, we're going to pack the hearing room in the House. Is that right? We're going to continue to make the case. They already know that we're the best city in the world. But what we have to make sure they know is that we're the best city, state, county, school district in the world too. Are you with me? We have passed 24 consecutive balanced budgets, and we're on our way to another one, right, Chairman? Including the one that the chairman and his colleagues passed this week. We have achieved the AAA bond rating. We have more residents than at least 2 other states, and we're growing, and they're not. And more federal taxes taxes paid than 22 states, more per capita than any state. But I want to be clear, we are not asking for a handout. We are demanding our fundamental rights as American citizens. And we're going to continue to seek the support of our fellow Americans. In fact, this year, we're investing another $1 million to spread the word about our lack of representation, our vote in the Congress. We're going to keep the pressure on our Democratic friends running for president so that DC statehood stays a part of the national conversation. Although we're not going to let our foot off the gas with those Republicans either, because this is not a Democratic or Republican issue. It's a matter of justice for American citizens. This, in some ways, is only the beginning. As we seek out the support of the other 50 states, we need to keep the momentum going here at home too. We're going to need every Washingtonian from across the city to show up to the Capitol in July and rally with us. Are you with me? Onward to become the 51st state. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Well said, Madam Mayor. Thank you for those remarks, and thank you for the $1 million to help spread the word. It is my great pleasure now to introduce the chair of our City Council, Chairman Phil Mendelson.
Thank you, Congresswoman Norton, and thank you, Mayor Bowser, and our shadow delegation, Senator Strauss and Representative Garcia. Thank you all for being here. And the reason why we are here is to show our solidarity behind H.R. 51 and the need to advance statehood for the citizens of the District of Columbia. The mayor spoke of this as an issue of justice, and it is. It's also an issue of human rights and democratic rights. We think of ourselves as American citizens, indeed we are, and others across the country think of us as American citizens, and indeed we are. And yet we don't have the same rights and responsibilities, the same rights that the citizens of the 50 states have, and that's wrong, and that's what H.R. 51 is about. There's a theme that's gone through all the speakers and will continue after I speak, and that is that the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate responsibility that a citizen of the United States can give is to fight for their country and to sacrifice their life for our country, which is why we're standing here at this memorial, because that's what we've done in war after war after war, and even in current conflicts like Afghanistan and Iran, where we have sent our citizens, or our citizens have gone, and they have sacrificed, and yet we don't have the same rights. A few months ago, I was in Mexico City. Why do I mention that? Mexico, when they had the revolution in the last century, they established a government that was modeled in many ways after our federal government, with a federal government and different states and a federal district. Mexico City was the federal district. But within the last decade, they've seen that they can find the way to Mexico City being the state of Mexico City and having all the rights and responsibilities of the citizens of all of Mexico and the other states in Mexico. They can do that, but we can't. That's what H.R. 51 is about. Mayor Bowser mentioned that, and I think the Congressman mentioned, we just passed our budget. We just passed our budget for fiscal year 2020, a $15.5 billion budget, and we passed it on time. We're required to pass our budget in 70 days, and year after year, we pass our budget in 70 days. Congress can't even pass their budget in 170 days. But they want to deny us the full rights and responsibilities of U.S. citizenship. There are in the budget that we passed a number of measures that deal with the mess that Congress gave us back in 1974, like the Clean Rivers Project, which is a couple of $1 billion to clean up the rivers because of the way our water and sewer system was built by the federal government when they controlled the district in the 19th and even into the 20th centuries. We're putting money in our budget to help with that. We're putting money in our budget to help with public housing because the federal government has increasingly disinvested from public housing. And need, not just in the district, but across the country, for affordable housing. Some folks think that, well, the district, we're still a federal district and therefore we get a federal handout. No, we don't. Well, yeah, we do. I think it's $100 million. 0.6% of our budget is a federal payment. Look at other states where it's far, far more. Hundreds of millions of dollars for some states, not us. We actually lose money as a federal district because we don't have statehood. HR 51 would change that. That's why we're here. I'm looking forward to testifying at the hearing in July. I really want to thank Congresswoman Norton for her leadership in continually pushing this issue, pushing it for many, many years, sometimes with frustration, and pushing it now with increasing progress. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mayor Bowser, for your work on this as well.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson. And thank you for reminding us that Mexico followed our brilliant blueprint for organizing government, but said there's one thing we're not going to do. We're not going to leave out the residents of our nation's capital. Well, this important event for the District of Columbia, just as we commemorate Memorial Day, would certainly be incomplete without hearing from one of our own veterans. So it is my great pleasure at this time to introduce Elliot Domingo, who is Director of the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs and is currently a major in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves. Major Domingo has served his country in Japan, in Korea, and in the Philippines. It is an honor to introduce him to say some remarks at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Congresswoman Norton, Mayor Bowser, Chairman Mendelson, everyone that's here with us today. I have the privilege to serve as the Mayor's Director for Veteran Affairs. We do outreach and advocate for 30,000 veterans in this district. But today I come to you as a DC resident and as a major in the Marine Corps Reserve. I spent 3 years enlisted in the infantry and 11 years as a communication officer in Japan, the Philippines, and the Republic of Korea. I know what it means when our elected leaders declare war. Today our military is an all-volunteer force, and I'm very proud of that, but that hasn't always been the case. According to our selective service, 648,000 service members were drafted into the war in Vietnam. Many of them never came home. Many of them were DC residents. All Americans should have an equal voice in our decisions regarding warfare, especially those who will be doing the fighting and the dying. But for the 700,000 residents living in DC, we're denied our simple right of full representation and a vote. We're told statehood is a complicated issue. I understand that. Declaring war is a complicated issue. That hasn't stopped our Congress from declaring it 5 times, right? So as a veteran, I ask our elected leaders in Congress to stop delaying and do the right thing. Thank you. I'll turn it over to the Congresswoman, Mayor, and Chairman for questions.
Thank you very much, Major Domingo. You may have heard the Mayor mention that the second in command in the House of Representatives, Steny Hoyer, has endorsed statehood. And the reason that is important, besides the fact that he is such a friend of the district and always has been, is he is the man that we go through to get our bill to the floor of the House of Representatives. I appreciate all of your coming. For the press, I think we can talk to you as you would like. And if there are no questions from the press, I appreciate your coming and invite you to stay tuned until we become the 51st state. Cannot be far off now. Thank you very much. You do have a question?
We've been here before over the years, and even to the point where the House has passed it, the majority House and Senate of Democrats, a Democratic president sitting, and then you were not able to get enough Democratic votes to pass it. Even if you are successful in the House,
this before. It is true, when I first came to the Congress in my very first term, I was able to get a vote on statehood in the House of Representatives. That's in our first term. We didn't get all the Democrats then. We had no time to get all the Democrats. We had a very different kind of party then. A third of our Democrats were Southern Democrats, so it would have taken some work. Yet we regarded it as a milestone that this is the second, not the first, vote we shall have on statehood for the District of Columbia. Now, for those of you concerned about the Senate, I should be clear. We would never pass bills in the House if we had to figure out whether they'll pass the Senate. If you have a name bill, just a bill to name this patch of land, after one of our forefathers, it would take a lot of work to get that bill passed through the Senate. So we're not at all discouraged. We think that nothing happens in the Senate until it happens first in the House. That has always been the case. If you look at the way in which things are lining up now, I'm predicting that we're going to have the House, the Senate, and the presidency of the United States and become the 51st state. Thank you very much.
Mayor Bowser? Mayor Bowser, can you respond to the housing production trust fund audit? That some audits have found that some of the highest ranking projects were rejected in favor of some of the lowest ranking projects. Mayor administration.
I've just been told that there is a veteran in our audience who is 100 years old, who served in World War II, Sidney Walton. Thank you, Mr. Walton, for coming. Please bring him forward.